hoping Carter, did Carter come around, or you not? You won't. We have to come see the. You have to see the. Come and see the play. I want to know if Carter came around or not. So. Oh, it's good to be among God's people again. So, how many people maybe are not from a church? Well, you don't have to raise your hand, but I never assume that everybody who's sitting in a worship space on Sunday morning is from a church background. And so some of you might be going, well, what in the heck is Pentecost? I know about Christmas, I know about Easter, but I've never heard of Pentecost. So, at Pentecost, it's 50 days after Easter, the resurrection of Christ, and it's when we celebrate the outpouring of the Holy Spirit upon those disciples and other followers of Jesus who were gathered in Jerusalem. And it was during the Jerusalem Festival of Weeks, which was a pilgrimage festival, and according to Jewish law, all Jewish men, yes, just men, were expected to travel to Jerusalem for the celebration. And during this week, the Jewish people celebrated that God gave the Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai, and they were also celebrating the harvesting of their wheat. So Acts 2 details the dramatic arrival of the Spirit upon Jesus' followers. Now, some people compare the Holy Spirit to the presence of a dove. I never have experienced it like that. To me, it's always the winds of change or the winds of empowerment. It's like this force that comes rushing upon us. And oftentimes, I think we, especially people that are entrenched in church life, need that. So most of the people that were there, the strangers, thought that the disciples had just gotten drunk at a fraternity party or something, but it wasn't like that at all. And so Peter got up, and Peter, who used to be so brash and impulsive, gave this very eloquent sermon and said, he explained that in the last days that God's Spirit would be poured out upon all people, and explained about Jesus and the gift that Jesus had promised to them. So today, in the 21st century, I keep saying it's 2018, but I know it's 2019. In the year 2019, on June the 9th, I think that Pentecost happened actually for me yesterday when we were at the Gay Pride Parade. But sadly, I think churches today have kept the Holy Spirit, the wind of change, the winds of transformation, out of their church doors. Churches continue to be a religious gatekeeper of who's in and who's out.
Amen.
Yet Pentecost reveals to us those things which may appear to be very foreign or very different from what we're used to, but may exactly be the gift that the church needs at that time. So when somebody walks in here that's new, I always ask myself, God, what is this person bringing to us? Not what, oh God, we want to save this person's soul, we're going to transform this person's life. It's, God, what are you speaking to us as you bring this person to our church with their gifts and what they have to bring, even those that are very different from what we are. The present state of the changing church could have been more welcoming to B.B. King. How many people know B.B. King, the King of the Blues? Anybody familiar with his music? Now, in his early days, when he first started playing, there was quite a lot of tension between blues music and the Pentecostal church. Do we have any Pentecostals in here? Charismatics? I came from a quiet charismatic. We met in a living room at home, actually. It was really cool. But some viewed the blues as the devil's music, and they believed it had no place at church. So people don't always understand that the movement of God is about change many times, about transformation. It's about hearing things in a different language. The blues were different, and B.B. King was different. So they didn't understand the music, and they certainly didn't understand the man. Now, B.B. King loved to tell the stories about how did you come to sing the blues, because he used to be a church singer. He said, growing up in Mississippi, I had to work Monday through Saturday afternoon. And then I'd get dressed up, get showered, get dressed up, and I'd go to town on Saturday afternoons, and I'd sit on the street corner, and I'd sing, and I'd play. And I would have a hat or a box or something in front of me for people to put donations or tips in. Now, people that would request a gospel song would always be very polite to me, and they'd say, son, you've got a mighty gift, and one day you're going to be great. But they never put anything in the hat. Sounds like church people. Just kidding. But people that would ask me to sing a blues song would always tip me, and sometimes they would even give me a beer. They would always do something of that kind, and they were always very nice. Sometimes I make $50 or $60 in one afternoon. That's why I'm a blues singer. Now, while the church viewed the blues and B.B. King as having no place in their church, B.B. King continued to use his gift until eventually the church saw another way of worshiping and singing. The gift of the Holy Spirit continues to work towards comprehension and common ground between the church, the blues, B.B. King, between rap music, between hip-hop music, between rock music. All of us, I believe, can hear in a different way what the Spirit of God is saying to the church. Amen. The blues weren't accepted in every church because it was different, but it was the blues that seemed to call B.B. King and others, even though some didn't understand the music and the man. I believe the Spirit continues to come upon the church, bringing winds of change to all of us, so that we can continue to speak the languages of the times in which we live. On the day of Pentecost, those early disciples spoke many different languages around them. And they all really only knew the dialect being a Galilean. But the Spirit came upon them and suddenly they could speak in another language so that strangers could hear and understand what they were saying. I believe that this demonstrates to me how God celebrates diversity, different cultures, different ethnicities, different languages, different people, different sexualities, even different genders. In the Spirit of God, diversity is not a dirty word, but a beautiful one in the light of God. Amen. If one has problems with diversity, then I believe one has to take that up with the Spirit of God, who continues to create diversity in the first place, as the gospel is expressed in different ways, different languages, different bodies, different contexts. We should not ever try to erase who we are, who God created us to be, just so we can try to fit into some establishment. We should not try to change whom and what God has created in order to suit other people's needs and comforts and opinions. How many people have done that? This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I was expected to do. This is what a woman does, especially if you're a woman in here. I'm sure you can identify that with that especially. This is what women do. We don't do it anymore. We've gained our independence. Praise God. We're still working at it. God made each one of us unique and different, and we should not try to erase or hide the unique person that we are. I believe Pentecost also is the creation of a particular kind of human community, a God-centered community. And though we are diverse, there is a unity around us. Now, not unified. Unified is we all believe the same thing, think the same way, dress the same way, act the same way, live by the same set of rules. Unity is when we come together and celebrate our differences, celebrate our diversity, respecting one another, being kind to one another. Pentecost reveals the gift of a community that represents boundary-breaking realities across all of those things that make each one of us different and unique. In the Spirit, there is no room for segregated faith on Sunday morning, and Sunday morning is usually the most segregated time in our society. The Spirit continues to break us out of seeing and understanding God in only one way, which is our way, and to be able to put aside what your way of believing and thinking is, and to truly listen to somebody else and hear how they think and believe can be very enlightening. The Holy Spirit will then lead us to hear different voices and different views, and perhaps a different way of seeing and believing and worshiping our God. Now, I believe that Pentecost for me, like I said, came yesterday. As I was sitting in the truck and just looking at everybody, and nobody was saying, "Oh, look at that." Well, Andy was saying, "Look at that person," which shall remain unsaid. It wasn't because they were different, but I won't go there. Sometimes we'd go, "Look at that person," or "Look at this person," or "Wow, look at that," and we had some dialogue about what gender some people may have been, and I'd go, "They're gender bending," which some people are fluid genders. They're neither male nor female. They kind of think of themselves as both. And so we would do that little thing. But just looking at the diversity among us, and nobody was judging, nobody was condemning somebody. To me, it was like Pentecost. There was just such a spirit of love and community there, a day of celebration. Even the cops were on board with us, which was great. Everybody was, the cops on motorcycles, I think they kept getting hit on a little bit, but that's okay. It did. It probably helped them. They probably went home, and if they were married, and told their wives, "I got hit on by 5 men today at the gay pride parade." we rounded the corner to go into the fairgrounds, I kept saying, where's the protesters? Because they're always there every year, and that's their right to be there. But we finally saw them, and they seem to be less this year and not as vocal. There's few with their signs, and the crowd was standing there kind of blocking them. And then we came across a gentleman with a microphone, and he said, Jesus will set you free. And Paul said it, and I kind of mumbled under my breath, Jesus has already set me free, and it is wonderful. Very comfortable in their skin and comfortable with who they are, and not say Jesus has not set us all free. But maybe one day they'll become enlightened. I always pray for those people, because I think they just need to be enlightened and loosen up a bit. But people are afraid. They're afraid perhaps that what they've been taught to believe is not correct, not a right way of seeing things, to be open to seeing God outside of a box and not in this tightly constructed box that churches tend to create to keep people in or out. I believe that on the day of Pentecost, and really each and every day, churches are called to continue in the prophetic call of love and justice in our communities, and that we are each empowered by the Spirit of a living God. As we hear again and again the story of Pentecost, we too are asked to claim and speak in our own language, a language that perhaps some of us are still learning to develop, about the radical, inclusive love of our God that truly celebrates all diversity. And may God bless each one of you. Amen.